All right, so we're going to talk about a thing called the equation of a line. We've talked about lines. We've talked about how to find the midpoint, right, of a line segment. We've talked about how to find the slope of a line. We've learned how to find the distance between 2 points, right, the distance of a line segment. But now what we're going to do is we're going to introduce a thing called the equation of a line. Let's see. Yeah, let's just do this. I thought about skipping this and putting this off to a little bit later, but let's do it right now. There's several different forms. There's actually 3 forms that we're going to deal with. Maybe not today. Let me see. Do I do that third form today? I don't think I do. I think I only do 2 forms on this. I think in another... Where did we do that? Oh, it was my college algebra class. We did that other form. So, but I think in here we're only doing 2 forms. Maybe I'll show you the third form in another lesson. Let's talk about the first form. It's called the standard form. Okay? And it's actually a form that we don't really use all that often. But I'll show it to you anyway. How about, let's put an R in there. So the standard form of an equation of a line. Of an equation, I'll just shorten that, is that all right? Of a line. And here it is, all right? It's AX plus BY equals C. Now, this may mean nothing to you right now, and I'm sure it doesn't, but we'll talk a little bit more about this a little bit later, but I just thought I'd introduce that to you right now. Yeah, we're going to kind of use this, but let's put this off for just a few minutes. Okay, we're going to come back to it a little bit. Let's jump into something a little, it's not different, but let's do this. Let's grab this little, let's copy and paste that. Put that right there. Let's get this lined up again. All right, and I'm going to put 2 of them because we're going to deal with 2 things. We've already talked about this stuff. What is this line right here? What do we call that line? This is the what? It's the X what? X what? Axis, right. And this one would be the what? The Y axis, okay? We've already discussed all that. But what I want to do is I'm going to draw a line. Let's just do this in a different color. I'm going to draw a line. It's just any random line. Really doesn't matter. What I want to do is I want to look at where it crosses the X and the Y axis. So, and I want to give you the name of it. We're going to talk about that in a second. So right here, this is where it crosses the X axis. Everybody see it? It goes through the X axis at this particular point right here. So I give this a name. I call this the X intercept. Intercept. All right? It's where it crosses the X axis. Everybody got that? So that would be this point right here. What do you think this point right here is going to be called then? The Y what? The Y intercept. And why is it called the Y intercept? Because it intersects the Y axis. That's right. Okay. Now they call it the Y intercept, but we say it sects, S-E-C-T-S. It intersects the axis. Okay, but we call it a Y intercept with a P right there. Okay, do you see the difference? I'll just write the 2 words down so you can see it. So we say it intersects, which means it crosses it, it intersects, but where it crosses, that actual point right there is called an sept, C-E-P-T. It's a little bit of a difference. Okay, they have some similarities, definitely, all right, but there's a little bit of a difference. So they intersect, but we call the point itself the intercept. Got it? All right. So this is the x-intercept. That's the y-intercept. Tell you what. I'm going to do the y-intercept. Should have seen that already. I'm going to do that. Oh, I forgot to hook up my microphone. Probably sounds terrible. I'm not going to answer that question. Alright, this should sound a whole lot better. Alright, so that's an x-intercept. Let's come over here. Let's just do this in a different color. And I don't know, let's just go like this. All right. Just make it go in a different direction, just to look a little different, that's all. It also has an x-intercept and a y-intercept. What I'm going to concern myself with this one is the y-intercept. So that point right there is called the y-intercept. All right. Now let's watch. What we're going to do is we're going to figure out what we're going to do with this y-intercept. We're going to do something to the y-intercept. All right. And let's see what I want to do. All right. In order to find, well, let's put a point here. All right. So this is a point on an axis. Okay. If I put an ordered pair there, what would the ordered pair be to that point? Now, I don't know how far over I went. Let's just make up a number. Let's say I went over 2. Is that all right? So if I went over 2, right, there's 1, there's 2, what would this point be? What would the ordered pair of that point be? Is it 0, 2? It's 2, 0. Why? Because we always go in what direction first? We always go to the x direction, and then we go in the y direction. So if I start at the origin, I got to get to this point. So what do? I go to the right, what? 2 places, right? So let's put a 2 right there. And then how far up do I go? I go 0. Everybody see that? Let's do the same thing with this one right here. Again, let's just say it's 2 just to make it the same, all right? So how do I get to that point right there? This one is 0, 2. That's right. So this one is 0, 2. You see the difference? All right. Which one was the 0 on the x-intercept? Which part? The x part or the y part? The y part. Okay, the y part was 0. Everybody see that? What was the 0 on the y-intercept? The x. Okay, so the x was the 0 on the y-intercept. So it's kind of opposite, right? So if I wanted to find the x-intercept, what's always going to be the 0? The y is going to be the 0, right? Any line I put in here. Look, I could draw another line right through here like this, okay? What's the x-intercept? It's right here. What's the 0? I'm sorry. Yeah, that's what I want. I should have said what's the y. What is the y part of it? It's 0, isn't it? So whatever that is, okay, let's just make up a number. Let's just say it's -5 what? 0. Everybody see that? So anytime a line crosses the x-axis, the y part of that point where it crosses, the y part of the x-intercept is always going to be 0. Okay? So this is what we're going to write. So to find the x-intercept, I'm going to shorten, I'm just going to put int. Is that all right? To find the x-intercept, what are we going to do? We're going to set what's equal to 0 on the x-intercept? The y is, right. So I'm going to set y equal to 0. I'll show you what that means in a second. Okay, I know that probably doesn't make a lot of sense to you right now. But to find the x-intercept, we're going to set y equal to 0. So what if we wanted to find, what if we wanted to find the y-intercept? Very good. Makes sense, doesn't it? We set x equal to 0. So you set the opposite one to 0. Can you remember that? All right, so if I want to find the x-intercept, what do? Set the y equal to 0. If I want to find the y-intercept, I set x equal to 0. That's where that formula comes in here. See that ax plus by equals c? That's where it comes into play. So let's see. Yeah. Let's put this equation. Okay. This is actually in standard form right here. Everybody see that? Because, let's go back. Let's just write it in. Be a lot easier. So it's ax plus by equals c. But now you look at this, what's the one thing that looks kind of weird? This is a plus, but this is a what? This is a minus. But you could look at it like this. Everybody watch? This is very important. This is a minus. You could look at it as plus a negative. Isn't that the same thing as minus? Isn't plus a negative just minus something? Yeah. All right, so does it work with this? Yeah, so what I want to do is tell me what the A is. Here's my general form right here, okay? What's the A? Somebody tell me. It's not 2x. What's the A? It's just a 2. It's not 2x, right? Because I already got the x just sitting there. What's the actual A? It's just 2. What's the B? Is it? It's negative 3, right? Because this is plus negative 3y, right? So it's not just a 3. It's not a positive 3. What is it? It's a negative 3. What's the C? It's negative 6. Everybody with me on that? So that's what this thing means right here, okay? It's kind of how you use it. We're going to do something here in a second. All right? I think that's important. I'm just going to get rid of that, though. And I'm just going to go back and put this to be minus. All right? So what we're going to do is they are going to ask you to graph this thing right here. Now, if I was to ask you to graph a point, let's go back to this. I tell you what, I'm just going to grab this, copy it, bring it back down here, and just push this over off to the side. Okay. What if I just asked you to graph a point? You should be able to graph a point, right? We've done a lot of that stuff before. We did midpoint, we did all that stuff. All right, so you should be able to graph a point. So what if I asked you to graph 0, 3? Where would you put 0, 3? Well, you start here, and you go which direction first? You go left or right first. How many places do you go? You go 0. So really you don't go anywhere, do you? Then what's the second place you do? You go up 3. 1, 2, 3, and you put a dot. So that's how we would draw or graph a point, right? We've done that before. That's not new. Let's graph another point. Let's graph, I don't know, let's not use 2. Let's go 5. 5, 0. What if I asked you to plot the point? Sometimes they say plot the point or graph the point. 5, 0. What would we do? We always start here. We go what? 5 places. Let's say that's 5 right there. And then, right, you don't go up and down. You go 0 up and down. So you're right. It stays in the same spot. It goes right there. What could I do to those 2 points then? I could make a line out of them, couldn't I? How would I make a line out of those 2 points? Just do what? Just connect them, right? Just connect the 2 points. And boom, I got a line. Everybody see that? So I have graphed a line. But how did I graph the line? I graphed the line using the what? What is that? That's a y what? Intercept. And what's this? This is an x-intercept, okay? So I was able to graph, that's not this, okay? I just made up a couple random points here, okay? But I was able to graph a line using the x-intercept and the y-intercept. Stay with me. I'm going somewhere with this. And let's just put this up again, just right there. So what we're going to do, this is an equation of a line, which means it's a line that has a certain slant, certain slope to it, right? And a certain direction to it. And it goes through a certain y-axis and it goes through a certain x-axis, okay? So that's what I got to figure out. I got to figure out what that line looks like. It's not just any old line. It's one particular line. So if I asked everybody to graph this, everybody should graph the same exact line. It's kind of like the name of the line, all right? So what is this line? It's 2x minus 3y equals negative 6. That's the name of this line, all right? I want to see what it looks like. Is it going to slant like this? Is it going to slant like this? Is it going to be way up here on the y-axis? Is it going to be way down here on the y-axis? That's what I got to figure out. I'm going to do that by using the x and the y-intercepts. So what we're going to do, let's do the x-intercept first, okay? So I'll just write this down. Let's find the x-intercept. Now, in your notes, look in your notes. It's above the screen here, all right? How do I find the x-intercept? I set y equal to 0. What does that mean? Where do I make y equal to 0? This equation right here, okay? So wherever you see a y, what are you going to put in for it? A 0. That's right. And then we're going to figure out what our x-intercept is. Then we're basically just going to solve for x. All right? So I know my y is 0, and then I can figure out where my x is, and then that's going to give me my x-intercept. Does that make sense? And then I can find that 1 point. Then I got to do it again, though. So instead of finding the x-intercept, I also have to find the y-intercept, okay? And then I set x equal to 0, solve for y. Now I've got 2 points. How do I graph 2 points? Just make a line in between them. All right? I said a lot, but let's see how to do it, okay? So we're going to set y equal to 0. So I'm going to wrong button. I'm going to rewrite this down here just so we can work with it. What am I going to do? I'm going to make that y, what? A 0. So let's write it down. So it's 2x minus 3 times 0. What is 3 times 0? It's 0, right. So let's keep writing. So it's 2x minus 0. Do I have to put anything then? Plus 0 minus 0? No. That basically just goes away now, doesn't it? Because it's a 0. Equals what? See, that goes to 0, equals negative 6. Let's solve for x. One step. What do? We've done this a bunch of times. Divide by 2. Divide by 2. X is what? Negative 3. Okay? What did I just find? X is negative 3. What do I do with that negative 3? Put it where? Well, I'm not going to substitute it back into anything. Okay? I found something that's really important on my graph. Well, I'm not going to do that yet. We'll do that in a minute, but not right now. Well, it's not even my c. Now the negative 6 is the c. What did I just find? That x equals negative 3. Remember, I made the y a 0, didn't I? And what was my x? Negative 3. So what do I do with that? Graph it. Put it on the graph. Exactly right. Okay, so I'm going to come over here to negative 3. 1, 2, 3. And put, let's keep it in white, doesn't matter. Put a little dot. That's my x-intercept. I just found the x-intercept. So I put a dot right there at the x-intercept. You see what I did? I found the x-intercept. So I know my line's going to cross the x-intercept here. Now, I'm not sure how it's going to slant. Is it going to look like this? Right? Is it going to look like that? Is it going to look like this? It could look like a million different things, couldn't it? All right? I'm not sure exactly how it's going to look until I find my what? What's the next thing I want to find? I found the x-intercept. What's the next thing I want to find? The y-intercept. So now let's find the y-intercept. Once I get the y-intercept, once I know where it crosses the y-axis and I put a dot right there, then I can connect the dots, get my line, and that's what my graph is. That's not too hard. So watch, the y-intercept. How do I find the y-intercept? I set what? X equal to 0 this time. Okay, let's put that equation down. Let's write the original equation that they give us, the equation of a line. Always use 0 for y and 0 for x. Okay, now this is just this particular problem. Right? The 2x minus 3y equals negative 6. There's nothing special about that. That's just the problem that they give us. Okay, but what we will do, if I wanted to graph this using the x and y intercepts, to find the x-intercept, I always set y equal to 0. I put it in here, do the math, figure out my x's, boom, put it on my graph. How do I find the y-intercept? Where does it cross the y-axis? Well, I set x equal to 0, solve for y, and then I'll know where to put my point on the y-axis. And then I got 2 points. What can I make out of that if I got 2 points? I can make a what? Somebody talk to me. Then I know you're listening. I got 2 points. If I connect them, I make a what? A line, right? And that's what I want to do. That's the whole goal of this problem. When they say graph this thing right here, what are they asking for? They're asking me to graph a what? A line. Thank you. You just said it. All right, so let's do this. Set x equal to 0. So where's my x? It's right here, isn't it? So what am I going to make that? I'm going to make that a 0. So it's 2 times what? 0. And let's just write out the rest of the equation. So it's minus 3y equals negative 6. What am I going to solve for? What's the only letter here now? 3, that's a letter. What am I going to solve for? I'm going to solve for y. Okay, I'm going to solve for y. What's 2 times 0? It's 0, so it just basically goes away. And what am I left with? Negative 3y equals negative 6. One step, and I got my y-intercept. What do I have to do? Divide by negative 3. Very good. Divide this side by negative 3. Divide this side by negative 3. That cancels out. Y equals what? Negative divided by negative is always positive. 6 divided by 3 is 2. All right. So what's my y-intercept? What did I make that x? I made it a 0, didn't I? What's my y now? It's 2. So what do I do with this graph? I come over here and do what? Put it at the 2 on the y-axis right there. There's my 2 points. What can I make now that I got 2 points? You've said it twice already. Make a line. That's right. Let's just do it. Thank you. Let's put this in a different color. And let's go for now. Look, don't just go from here to here. Everybody watching? This is something that students do all the time, and it really irritates me. I don't know why, but some people just go from here to here. It's a line. What does a line do? It keeps going, right? So don't just stop it. It's not a line segment. Okay, it doesn't just start here and end here. It keeps going. All right. So stretch it out like this. And since it keeps going, what do we put at the ends of them? Arrows. So that thing in yellow right there, that's actually your answer. Okay, that's the answer to this problem. The problem says to graph this equation, there it is right there. And that's the only graph, that's the only way it should be drawn. All right, if you draw, let's do this in a different color. Watch, if you drew it like this, that's wrong. It's not the same line, is it? All right, if you drew it any other way, it would be wrong. This is what it has to be. So on a quiz or a test, I'm looking to see what your x-intercept is and what your y-intercept is. I'm looking that you put those 2 points on there, and I'm looking that you connect the 2 dots. All right, and that's your graph. Now, this is only one way to graph a line, okay? I could have graphed this another way. I doubt we're going to get to that today. Let me see. What time? I always forget. Wednesday. 15? All right. Yeah, I only got a couple minutes. So, yeah, let's see. I don't think. Let me just say this. Just curious. Does this ring a bell with anybody? Why? Come on. There we go. Sometimes it's pen. Let's try this again. No. Y equals mx plus b. Does that ring a bell? Yeah. Okay, that should. Yeah, it's a popular thing. You probably learned it last year in Algebra 1. Okay? Y equals mx plus b. This is the second form of the equation of a line. So the first one was what? What was the first form? It's in your notes. First thing we wrote down today. It's the what? Yeah, but what's the name of it? What's the name of it? The standard form, okay? It's the standard form. So let's do this. Number 1 is the standard form. That's the one we did today. And we can graph something in the standard form by finding the x and y intercepts. Everybody with me on that? So the second one is this one right here. We already know what the m stands for. We've done a lot with that already. What does the m stand for? It's the slope. This one may not be quite as familiar, but we did talk about it today, but we didn't use this letter. The b represents the y-intercept. I'll just put int, okay? So you did learn this last year, didn't you? Okay, good. Well, at least you were taught it, right? Some of it stuck. That's good. So this is the slope. This is the y-intercept. So the name of the second form that we're going to do is called the slope-intercept. I'll just put int form. There's another form. Okay, we'll learn another day. But today we learned the standard form. Tomorrow we're going to learn the slope-intercept form. Everybody got it? And that's y equals mx plus b. And I'll show you how to work with y equals mx plus b. This is probably the most famous form of an equation of a line. All right? It's the one that most people use most of the time. Okay? So that's the one that you're probably familiar with. I doubt you're familiar with the standard form. I don't know. Do you remember doing that last year? Probably not. Yeah, we don't usually talk too much about that one. It does exist. But this one right here, the slope-intercept form, put a little star next to it or something because that's the important one. That's the one that we're going to use a lot. Everybody good? All right. Well, we didn't finish the lesson today, so I am not going to assign you homework. I don't know if I did on the lesson plan or not. Did I? Let's see. Wednesday. I did. So I'm going to eventually assign 1 to 19. So if you want to get a head start on it, try to find the ones that are in standard form and do those, right? And then you won't have as much to do tomorrow, okay? It's section 3.5. So see what you can do. I'm not going to collect it all tomorrow, but see how much you can do tomorrow, for tomorrow, and that'll be it.